911. It's a number dialed over 240 million times each year. In all cases, those cries for help are answered by trained professionals, and many of them are NENA certified ENPs. Let's talk to one of them, unedited and completely off the cuff.
Are you positive he's breathing?
No.
Okay, and he's blue?
Yeah.
Okay, then there's a good chance he's not breathing. Is there somebody else there that can do CPR?
Oh my God.
911, what's your emergency?
NENA, the National Emergency Number Association, and the NANCI-approved Standards Development Organization, has created the Emergency Number Professional Accreditation, specifically for public safety professionals. ENP certification establishes the benchmark for performance, signifying a broad-based competence in the public safety field. Successful certification completion demonstrates an individual's mastery of the knowledge base requirements for an emergency management position. So join me as we talk to yet another new ENP, unedited and completely off the cuff. Hey, it's Fletch. Welcome once again to another episode of Off the Cuff, True Confessions of an ENP. Today, joining us all the way from South Dakota, Fargo land, is Kelley Anderson, a brand new ENP with Watertown Regional 911. Kelley, thanks for coming in and congratulations on your new appointment as an emergency number professional.
Thank you, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Wait, you're glad to be here?
I am.
I gotta write that
exciting.
one. Thank God this is being recorded.
Nobody would ever believe it,
Nobody
right?
would ever believe it. So how long have you been on the job?
I've been a dispatcher for about 18 and a half years now.
Okay. Same agency?
Same agency.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I started in 2004 in November. It worked out really good because I ended up refinancing my house. I was actually pregnant when I started and didn't know it. So my daughter, I always call her, she's a full dispatcher too because she got to go to all the training with me. And so 9 months after I started, I ended up going on maternity leave and needed health insurance and stuff, and things just got better and better at the agency, so I stuck around. I've actually, I did part-time down in Brookings, which is about 45 minutes away, because out of their 9 positions, they were missing 5 people. So I would go down there once a week and work 12 hours just to give somebody a day off for a little while. So I've dispatched it too, but it was definitely a good experience going somewhere else and seeing how somebody else did things, but
So you're the very first person I've talked to that actually was dispatching during the same period that I was dispatching. I was just
oh
getting
wow.
out of it in 85, and you were just starting in 84.
No, 2004.
Oh, 2004.
2004.
Okay.
Yes.
I think you said 84.
No,
Like,
84 I would have been 8 years old.
oh my God. So
I don't think I would have
so
qualified.
you still suck. I hate you.
Yeah, in fact, in my agency, they didn't even start hiring dispatchers till 94.
Oh my
That was
God.
the very first dispatcher was hired in 94. So,
So they had patrol units sitting the desk.
yes. Yep.
Oh, that was great quality of service.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was the sergeants that got in trouble or the people on light duty or yep.
Well, that's right. I mean, so that's the thing, right? People that are new in this job don't realize this. Dispatch used to be punishment.
Yes, it did. It did. Sometimes it still feels like it.
Either because of the workload or because of the pay. It is kind of
Mhm.
still, or both.
Or both. Yeah,
So,
or the crazy people days,
right. So how big is your agency? What kind of center do you have?
We dispatch for 6 counties with a probably total population of around 55,000. We've got 13 full-time dispatchers, a dispatch manager. So we do 8-hour shifts. And so I've been working day shift now for probably 5 years. I've been there long enough now to get the coveted day shift. So, but
18 years seniority, I would think you would have. So,
yes. Actually, last week, the most senior dispatcher behind me just retired, and he had 23 years
oh
in.
my
So,
God.
yeah.
See,
Yeah, and he
I
was,
couldn't imagine doing that for 20 some odd years.
yes, and he was 70, or he's 79 years old. So, so he's been around and seen a lot. So,
Oh, that's got to be the butt of jokes all over the place, I can imagine.
yep. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Great radio guy, ham radio guy. So he was our radio guy, but he decided it was finally time to retire. So now I'm the senior dispatcher.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations on that, I guess.
And it's a little scary because we do have 3 LCOs, which I chose not to be one just because then I have to do rotations again and do the night shift in the afternoon and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I like my day shift. So I chose to just stay as a regular dispatcher. But in lieu of the LCOs, if I'm the senior dispatcher, I'm in charge. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to be in charge.
Yeah. Yeah, that comes with responsibility and
It
accountability, and
does.
that's not good.
It does.
You got nobody to
Oh.
blame it on but yourself.
Exactly. Well, that's usually most of my mistakes too.
Yeah.
I have nobody to blame that on but myself.
So you guys work eights then, right?
Yeah, we do. Yes.
Did you ever work 12s there?
We've gotten up to 10s. There was for a while one summer we tried a couple of 10-hour shifts and I kind of liked it, but we are only allowed to work 12 hours at a time per
Right.
union contract. So if somebody calls in sick, that dispatcher can't stay on anymore. And there are days we walk out of there after 8 hours and it's too much. So most of us are kind of like, let's stick with the eights, just
Wow.
for, yeah.
It,
Yeah, we,
it didn't happen. I used to work 12s, and it didn't happen often, but there were times when you stayed for a second shift, and it was okay if you worked days and then you stayed for the night shift because
yeah,
then the guys would be a little easy on you. 3 o'clock in the morning, you could go take a nap, and everything was cool. There was nothing going on anyway, and
yeah.
I liked working night shifts, to be honest with you, because you know what? You put everybody to bed by 2 o'clock in the morning, and nothing happened after that. At most, you got calls from the press, and what's the news? And,
Yep.
and of course, by us, if we had a press release once every 3 weeks, it was a lot. So
Yeah.
I used
Yeah.
to, we used to have the traffic was called shadow traffic in Metro New York, and we were like 45 miles outside of New York, but they used to call us, you know, oh hi, it's Melanie from Shadow Traffic. Anything going on? And me just being a smart ass that I am, like, oh, you heard about the plane crash, right? Oh my God, what plane crash? No, there was no plane crash. Yeah. One day we had a small private airplane crash at the high school.
And you've cried wolf too many times, and they're
They
like,
were like,
ha
"Oh,
ha,
you heard about
that's
the plane
funny.
crash? What? Oh, you're so full of it." I'm like, "No, seriously. Nobody was hurt. Everything was fine, but we did actually have a plane crash."
Oh, yeah. Yep. I have a plane crash story if you want to hear it.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Oh, yeah, because in dispatch, if you say the words, things are going to happen, right?
Absolutely.
So there's 3 of us sitting there. There'd been nothing going on all day. We had 2, this was in our old building, so everything was pieced together and, you got the wires under the floor. You got to be careful not to kick or you turn off the radio system or something. And
Sure.
so the one in the back room that only had partial dispatching capabilities hadn't even signed into her computer yet. That's how slow it was that day. So about 1:30 comes along and I'm like, it's fine. We can handle anything. It's only a half an hour. Literally had a plane crash. Like
Huh.
30 seconds later, every 911, every business line lit up. I'm like, oh, and they were so mad at me. And every time I start to say something, they're like, don't say anything. You just go home now. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, that's unbelievable. And it's so typical because it happens just about any time that
Yes.
that's discussed, right?
Yes. Yep. You can talk about, there are people whose names you can't say in dispatch or you'll be hearing from them for the rest of the night.
Oh
You get,
yeah, yeah. Your favorite free. You know what? Nobody has ever done a podcast series on your favorite frequent flyers. Oh my God, would that be a trip if you actually had audio from that?
that would, oh my goodness sakes. Yes. You got the characters that call up and either they are angry about something all the time or, they've just got just issues, that
My
they just
favorite, I
talk about.
can't remember her name, but I remember it was 17 Winona Parkway in Sparta. And she used to call, you could set your watch by this lady, 10 o'clock every Friday night. She would call up and she would have aliens spying on her through the electric switch in her bedroom.
Yep.
And if we
Yep.
if we weren't busy, we'd actually go over there and we'd like scan the wall with the portable. Oh no, they're not. Well, that got rid of them this time, but call us
Yep.
back if we ever think so. No, don't tell her to call back.
Exactly. Just tell her, here, this spoon here is anti-alien, and I put the powers in it so you can take care of it yourself.
But I would feel bad because I would talk to her. But God, if it was a Friday night and it was busy, sorry, I'm working 3 MVAs and 2 bar fights.
Yep, exactly.
You know.
Exactly. At 3 o'clock in the morning, you're like, oh yeah, chat a while, tell me about these aliens,
Sure.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Is it the one that calls himself Dave?
oh, you haven't met Dave?
Oh,
Oh.
Dave's the best.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, whatever. There was one night I had we had a bar in one of the 3 towns called the Phone Booth, and they had this bar that had this humongous round bar rail around the whole thing. It was a big circular bar, and you could get a bar fight call every night from there. But they're like, yeah, it's the phone booth. We got another bar fight. So, all right, we'll be there. Well, you better send a lot. I'm like, what's up? And they're like, Freddie, one of the locals, just ripped off about a 5 foot chunk of the bar rail, and he's hitting people with it. Now, I mean, you're talking about a piece of wood that was probably 6 inch around that he
Oh my
reached
goodness.
down, grabbed, and just tore off like it was a fruit.
You're like, has Freddie had any drugs tonight that we should know about? Because how
Freddie
did he
goes
do
like
that?
350 pounds, and
Oh.
and his arms are like my legs. So, Freddie would take a net tranquilizer and about 5 guys to take him down. And now he's got a 5 foot hunk of bar rail. Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, okay. Just tell whoever to get out that can get out, and we'll send an ambulance for the rest.
Oof.
But it's the local stories of the small towns that to me are the best.
Oh, yeah. Yep, and you talking about bar fights too, and there was one bar that we had in town, and it's burned down now. It actually burned twice. The first time an officer was driving by and saw that the sign was on fire, and radios in, and we're like, oh, do we dispatch out or do we
Yeah.
wait for a while? you know, and we dispatched out and put that one out. But so one night it's just two of us working. It's a busy like Saturday night, and they call it a bar fight on the dance floor. So the officers go up there, and all the highway patrolmen and all the deputies. We've got every officer available. And as they're walking in the door, they're pulling people out two at a time for fighting. And they get all the police cars full, and they haven't even made it to the dance floor yet. And we're like, "Oh my gosh," so we're running people, and everything's crazy. And then we start getting 911 calls about our frequent flyer, who was always in bar fights and was trouble, has a gun in the parking lot out back.
No.
And we're like, "Oh my gosh." So we dispatch that out. All the officers go running there, and we're status checking them. And there's nothing. And we're status checking them, and there's nothing. And we're like, what do we do? They're all there,
Can't
You
send
would
any backup.
Yeah, you would think somebody would call 911, but it was like 2 minutes before anybody got free to tell us that they were okay, and we're just like, oh, "You guys can't do that to us."
Wow.
We're sitting here, we're like, "Okay, where's the key to the extra car?" I guess I can go. Oh, that was terrifying, but ended up being, everything was okay, but they didn't even have a police car to put him in by the time they got done. They're, carpooling, calling taxis to go down to the jail for him. That was crazy.
So
Oh,
I
yes.
so I was a special officer, so I was on the road part time as well. We're out one night with my partner, and we pull over this white Mazda pickup truck that is going across 3 lanes on the
Oh.
road. We pull this woman out. She is just drunk off her ass. I'm standing behind her, holding her arms, doing the finger to nose test, right? She can't even comprehend anything. The second we tell her she's under arrest for driving under the influence, she snaps to, spins around, kicks me square in the kneecap with pointed cowboy boots. I'm on the ground in pain. She jumps down on top of me and is just pummeling me. Kelley, she is not 4'11" and maybe 80 pounds at the most.
You're underneath going, help, help,
The DWI squad pulls up, and I see the car pull up as I'm on the ground. My partner is laughing his ass off. Thank God it wasn't today, or else there would have been pictures and videos.
Oh,
You know, all now it's just good stories, but
yep.
oh my God. And it's just like, well, we came by because nobody checked in. Well, it's getting the crap beat out of me by a 4'11" girl.
Exactly. We had, oh my gosh, we had a girl. And so our old dispatch center used to have a window that we could see right into the jail.
Yep.
So we were sitting there one night. We get a call from an emergency room doctor who says that they need help with this girl because she is fighting them. And she's like literally a .7 something that they tested in the hospital. He says, I don't know how she's standing, much less fighting us.
Oh my God.
She was the same thing, like 4'10", 4'11", 80 pounds, tiny little thing, and she is fighting all the nurses and doctors. So send a few, officers up there. They bring her into the jail, and all of a sudden you hear yelling in there. And we've got he was a tall, thin officer, and then the jailer was probably 350, 6'2". She's got them both on the floor,
Oh my God.
and they're wrestling her, and I'm just like, they're gonna need some help in there because so of course everybody comes running and stuff, but those
Just to
two,
see it.
yeah, pretty much they're like, what, she's a tiny thing, I don't,
Oh,
she must have been a heavyweight drinking champ to be up and fighting at a
it is
.7.
amazing how the worst ones are these little tornadoes that don't weigh squat, and they can drink you under the table and kick
Oh
the
yeah.
living crap out of you.
Yep, and that's probably why we don't hear from them until they're beating up on somebody, because they can take care of themselves.
Yeah. So anyway, why'd you become an ENP
I
after
decided
18 years?
well, because I didn't know how hard the test was. No, I'm just kidding. Glutton for punishment. I actually so I'm at the point in my career where I'm like, okay, retirement's coming up in 10 years. I've got to get my knowledge out to everybody. But I got to get myself organized first. I don't just want my knowledge from my center. I want to know about the background, and I want to know, if I decide someday to go to another agency, I want to be able to say, "Hey, look, I'm pretty smart. I can pass this test and I have all this knowledge." Um and the manager position at our center is a brand new one within the last 2 years. He's the first manager ever, so we're not under a captain anymore. And I'm like, maybe someday I might want that, and if I do, I need to be prepared. So I decided to ask if I could be an ENP, and they thought that was a great idea. Somebody should have all this knowledge. So I'm like, all right. So I studied and I listened in on podcasts with Tracy, who talks about you frequently in her podcasts. But yeah, so that's, I thought, oh, I felt good going into the test. I was a little nervous, but I'm like, I can do this. And I get into the test and I'm like, ooh, first 5 questions. I'm like, oh, not sure about that. Okay, maybe that one. Next one will be better. Boy, I haven't heard about that one either. Oh, so I'm like, first 5, I must have been a good guesser or something like that. Because then we started to get into stuff that we'd gone over, and I'm like, okay.
None of this
So
was on the practice test.
I know. I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. But yeah, I got the technology part. She was awesome about that, and I'd actually been a lead communication officer for 5 years when they first started out, before it was before it was at an actual promotion, and it was just an assignment. They gave us 5 cents an hour more, and so I did that for a little while, and I decided that
Oh,
was
so you were making 10 cents an hour. Not bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I doubled my salary, and I was
Wow.
almost able to get the healthy food at the store at that time.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, so I did a little bit of management stuff, and so when I got done with the test, I thought, oh, I failed it, and how am I going to tell them I need more money to take the test again? They're with our little budget. And I waited, and pretty soon I get this email that says, "Congratulations, you passed." I'm like, "Oh, phew, thank goodness," because then I can tell them their money was worth it.
There you go. So I'm going to give you the trivia question.
Okay.
And this has been said before, so the answer is out there and published.
Okay.
But in 1980, what was my starting pay as a dispatcher within 500 bucks
Within
a year.
500 bucks.
Yeah, annual pay.
Let's
Thousand
see.
within $1,000.
Gosh, 1980. I'm trying to guess about. I know what my starting pay was. I'm gonna guess your starting pay was probably $10,000.
Ooh, boy, you were the closest ever.
Really?
Now I got to figure out what the hell I'm going to give you.
Ooh, ooh, prizes. You didn't
Oh,
tell me
oh
there were
yeah,
prizes.
oh yeah. No, there's probably. Oh, I know what I can give you. I was just at conference. So Kelley Anderson, you are a winner of a brand new 2023 Nina Board Member Challenge coin.
Fantastic! I actually have some of those, so that's exciting.
It was $9,613.
Wow. Yeah, we've improved. We've improved since then.
Yeah, we got our raise because we were ready to go to the newspaper and show them how the county's largest police department, because we didn't even have 911 at the time, um, their dispatchers were would qualify for food stamps.
Oh my goodness
And our
sakes!
and
Yeah,
our town was like the wealthy town in the county.
yeah.
They didn't
Oh,
like that.
I can imagine. I can. Oh, yeah. And all the you and I both know all the work that you do. It's not just answering the phone and
Oh
talking on
God,
the radio. You got the warrants you got to enter. You've got the. Everybody kind of seems to go, oh, well, dispatch is sitting there. They can do this. You know.
and you were telling me just before that you just got dumped a bunch of admin stuff on your center.
Yes, yes. We used to just take the 911 calls for the 6 counties and then radio traffic and business lines for the police department in our town, which is a town of about 25,000 people.
Yeah,
And
not
then
too
we
bad.
take traffic stops for one of the smaller counties. Well, we in contract renegotiations with all these counties. They're like, "Oh, for the added price of this, we'll take all your business lines." So 3 counties jumped right on board and said, "Yeah, that'd be great. Can you do it 24 hours?" And they're like, "Absolutely." And we're all like,
Yeah, the contract
"Okay."
people said that without talking to you guys.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, "Do you think this would add anything?" And we're like, "Yeah, yeah, could we get some more people?" We did actually get we had 12 dispatchers and they approved a 13th full-time dispatcher after all that. So we're we did get a little more help, but of course then when you have 13 positions, how many of those are full with fully trained people?
Yeah.
We had the senior dispatcher retire last week. We were fully trained, everybody in position for 2 weeks, and now we got to hire somebody and go through all that training again to get them up to speed.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So what's that take? 4 or 5 days?
Yes,
Yeah.
or months.
Or
Yeah.
year?
Oh, no.
So
It maybe
how
took
long was your initial training when you started?
my initial training was 6 weeks,
Okay. My initial
and
training is, hey Fletch, that's the phone, that's the radio. You answer this when it rings and you push that button to talk. See you later. Goodbye.
yeah. Oh, no, I was lucky I got 6 weeks, but they handed me this, like, 18-page outline and said, "This is all the stuff that you're gonna need to know," and I'm like, "What? Oh, okay." They're like, "Well, when you answer 911 calls, you gotta answer them this way, and then you gotta look at this paper map here and figure out who the fire department is," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." But they won't always know their address, so, we've marked, the big stone and, Farmer Johnson's barn that burned down 10 years ago on here for you just
You
in
know what?
case.
I mean, everybody says that, but if you have not worked that area, you don't understand. No, that shit's real.
Yes,
You know,
it is.
it's where the old Nelson place used to be before it burned down. You're kidding me. No, that's where it was. And if you grew up there, you knew exactly where it was. But if
Yep.
you were from out of town, what the hell are you talking about?
Exactly. The tar road that goes south, to Willow Lake.
Yeah.
Which one? Okay. Until you're looking on your map and then you have to turn on the aerial view and you're like, yeah, that looks like tar, I guess. Okay. 7 Mile Road.
Yeah.
Don't they all have 7 miles on them? Yeah. So you learn that and you learn it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Or you just dispatch out the fire department and you're like, "Can you tell me what road that is when you get there?" And they're like, "Sure," because they all know. That's what they
We had a
told me.
place called Station Crossing, and it turns out that's where the train used to run like a gazillion years ago. The tracks aren't even there anymore,
Oh
but
my
that's
goodness.
Station Crossing. Okay,
Yep.
whatever.
We've got, yep, Tunerville and we've got Tinkertown. And they used to be towns, but now they're just an intersection. And actually, Tinkertown, I think, has a giant pheasant there now and a tiny little church. So if you ask, is that where the pheasant is? They're like, oh, yeah, I do see a pheasant. Okay, I know where that is then,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Oh well. Yeah, I mean, we had some towns. You knew there. It's like giving somebody directions. Well, get down till you see the firehouse. Watch out for the cop that's sitting on the left hand side because that's his stop sign.
Yep.
It's the only one he's got.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
see, that's where I live. Where I live, I'm very rural now. We do actually 5 years ago, we did get a traffic light. It
Oh,
was all the news.
oh, I bet. I bet. And how long did it take for the first crash?
Uh, Probably about I don't know a week maybe.
They're like, oh, I forgot it was there and I didn't stop.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And there probably hadn't been an accident there in 10 years.
Yep. Well, they added a stop sign here on my way to work. I live literally 6 blocks from work. And I'm kind of lazy sometimes, but sometimes it's wintertime and it's really cold, so I drive my car. And I bet you the first 3 mornings on my way to work, luckily it's 5:30 in the morning and no traffic, I drove right through the stop sign. I'm like,
Oh,
oh, oh, whoops.
yeah.
But I know where all my guys are at 5:30 in the morning too. And it's not right by that stop sign.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding. The We used to have recycles in the back of our building. We were in the municipal complex, and when guys wanted to catch a quick cat nap, they would park next to the cardboard recycles. And we would go out and we would just build a big castle of cardboard boxes over their car and then
Oh,
scream on the radio, "There's a heart attack on Main Street." And we'd watch them drive by the front windows and the paper trail follow after them. Like, disregard.
yeah, never.
Son
Sorry
of a...
about that. I so it snows here. You know, it snows a lot
Yeah,
sometimes,
you're
but
by Fargo, you said, right?
oh yeah, oh yeah. And if you've ever seen the movie Fargo, we don't all talk like that, but there are a few. But so I'm working one night. I think there was two of us. It was in the new building, but one of the officers had stopped at like the local pet store. They have a big parking lot. It's right on one of the highways that gets a lot of traffic early in the morning with people going to work. So he'd park there to stop and do his reports in his car. And apparently he fell asleep. So we get a call from this guy who had just plowed the lot. And he's like, I didn't really want to wake him up and scare him, but I plowed all the way around him. And so probably somebody should go wake him up. So somebody did. They took pictures first,
Oh,
of
of
course,
course. Of
with
course.
the
Yeah.
snow-covered police car with the lot plowed all around him. But yeah, oh yeah, because I'm not just gonna, call his cell phone and wake him up. I'm gonna make sure that everybody knows that he might have accidentally nodded off a little while. And the snow plows on the front of the pickup trucks they do that with are not quiet either. So he must
Sure.
have been really tired.
Yeah. Hey, man, it happens. People don't
Yep,
understand. The public doesn't understand police are human beings, dispatcher are human beings. We all have to have the same stuff that happens to everybody else, happens to us. And,
absolutely.
whatever. It's just life. Give them a break. They got a hard job to begin with. You know what? You need to cut them a little extra slack.
Yep, and if I were 3, 4 in the morning and I was sitting alone in a car, I would nod off too. I'm lucky in
Hell
this
yeah.
batch where I get somebody to talk to or a computer to look at or, a book to read where they have to sit there and they have to pay attention to, you know, the traffic or wait for it to show up. So he gets a little grief from it, but it
Whatever.
happens.
Whatever.
Yep.
It's part of the job. So how
Yep.
long did you study for your EMP? Not 18 years, I hope.
Not 18 years. Well, no. It feels like it, but
Because
so
then
I
I would
probably
really feel bad that the test is maybe a little too hard. I had to study for 18 years.
and then I didn't even know half of it. No. I ordered the ENP book, I think September of 2022, And it
Okay.
kind of did sit there just a little while. But
Well, if you get it and you open it up and go, oh my God.
I know. I'm like, no, I guess I'm not going to read that cover to cover. I'll, after I'm done with my cues or after I'm done with this training, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So in January, when they approved me to take the test, approve the money to take the test, then I started in and, started reading it, doing some highlighting and taking notes. And so I was searching, and I think I found a Facebook group, which led me to Tracy's YouTube channel. So then I started doing that every week. So I'd watch the channel. I'd go back through the study guide. Um, there were a lot of things that I wrote down words, and I'm like, okay, I got to look up, what that is afterwards because I hadn't even heard the term before. So probably from January until I took the test in May.
Okay.
So I
Now,
studied
did
for a
you
good
attend her
5 months.
live sessions or just use the playbacks?
I the live ones when I could, and then so probably the first 4 or 5, and then I ended up we have to rotate every 3 months,
Yep.
to either different days off or a different shift.
Yeah. See, I
And since
love that when I was working 12s. I love that. Different ends of the week, different,
Yep.
days. And oh God, I think 12s are great, but that's just me. Whatever.
Yeah, well, so we'll work the 5 days. So, I think her podcasts were like Thursdays or Fridays. So I must have had Thursday, Friday off, and then I rotated to where I got Saturday, Sunday off. And so then I would sit down later on and watch the recordings of the podcast and make sure I was all caught up. So yeah, that was a lifesaver along with the study guide because the study guide will give you the facts, but it won't, give you the little quirky things how you can
Yep.
remember.
Yep.
And yeah,
She's
those
great
are
at that.
lifesavers.
She's great at that. And I'm like a super technical person. So she'll come to me with these stupid off the wall explanations. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's right. But where the hell did you come up with that?
Yep.
She goes, it doesn't matter. People remember. I'm like, well, if they remember it, then they remember it. Whatever. I mean, how can I say that that's not cool? But I'm like,
Yep.
she drives me nuts with her stupid analogies.
Yeah, you're like, she's drawing things out of somewhere. But see, my mom taught me that when I was little. I remember memorizing the state capitals, and I'm not really a good memorization person. If I repeat it and do it different ways, like how I take notes is I'll handwrite them and then I'll go back in and then I'll type them and then I'll read them out to myself and then I remember. Well, I was struggling with that. So she was making stuff up with the capitals, like Madison is the capital of Wisconsin. And the only reason I remember that is because my grandma was a nurse and she worked at the Madison Hospital. So if I can put things together like that. So Tracy was great with that. She would come up with these off the wall things and I'm like, well, I'm never going to forget that now.
The one I hear about the most is intralata, interlata, rah rah for local.
Yep. Yep, I laughed at
And
that.
as
I'm
an
like,
engineer, I'm going, what?
yep. But whatever works, whatever makes you
That,
remember and you'll never forget it
that's
and
that's what matters.
yep. Yep, exactly.
So, what advice do you have for somebody that's thinking about sitting down or contemplating this for their career?
For dispatch itself. Oh boy. You know what? There are a lot of people that are like, I don't have any experience. I don't know anything about law enforcement or medical. And I don't know anything about radios. The best dispatchers we've had, and myself included, have been the ones that have so many different jobs. I was assistant manager at Pizza Hut for 4 years. And then I went to nursing school and I was an LPN for a few years. And then I worked at the Boys and Girls Club as an arts coordinator. And then I was a bartender, and then I worked at a law office ordering medical records. Every single one of those jobs has brought something to dispatch that makes me better at my job. So if you're worried that, oh, I won't be able to do it because I'm not that type of person, there is not that type of person. There are people that will work out in dispatch and people that won't, but they're not a certain type. They're good at dispatch because they have so many different backgrounds that, like my lawyer was a civil lawyer, so it's easier to understand when people call up and they're like, oh, he won't give me back my dog and we bought it together and stuff. I'm like, okay, I understand that that's civil and not criminal. So, if you like not being bored If you like something different happening all the time, you're going to love dispatch. It's stressful most of the time, so you got to have a good sense of humor. That's pretty much a requirement for any dispatcher. But just because you have never done anything with that and you don't understand how it works doesn't mean that you're not going to be a good dispatcher. In fact, those people, the best interview I ever saw, she came in and she had been working at a bar. And, like she was very proud of that fact. Most people are like, as a bartender for a while. She was like, no, I'm a bartender. I make sure my guys are taken care of and I make sure that, I'm following all the laws and I can make sure that everything's clean. And, if they need a ride home, I'm giving them a ride home. But she could relate everything that she was doing at that bar to something in dispatch. The safety of the police officers is just like the safety of her customers. She's making sure they're getting home and not hurting anybody by driving drunk. And she got hired. She was the best interview we'd ever seen.
Plus, you
And there
could
were
serve everybody right at work.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we were getting sick of the same drinks in our coffee, so we needed something else.
We call that
But
choir practice after a shift. Yes.
oh yeah, but just how thoughtful she was about it and how she knew what she was doing was a good thing. There were people there with degrees that she beat out because she knew what was right and wrong in her head, and she knew, that she could do this job because it was like bartending, because it is. It's a lot like bartending. Sometimes you got to be the bartender that's listening to somebody crying about their problems. Sometimes you got to be the bartender that says, "Nope, you've had enough. I'm not serving you anymore." So I think
Drunk
that's
people never call 911.
never, or you mean never call it repeatedly? No,
Yeah.
that's not true either.
No.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
calling 911 something.
Yeah, exactly. No, this is 912. I'm sorry, you have the wrong number.
Yeah, there you go. You don't have aliens coming out of your light switch, do you?
Not yet. I've not met Dave yet, so.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, you know what? I always thought of South Dakota as probably a boring place, but people like you are certainly making it interesting.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you got to make your own fun out here. You don't have all the distractions, so we do wild and crazy things. We climb the water towers and we like the old country songs, and we hit the back roads and stuff, but we make our own fun.
I
So
don't know if I can seriously say I'll ever make it to South Dakota, but if I do, you're on my list.
absolutely,
I
look
can
us
tell you
up.
that.
We'll give you a great tour, and dispatchers are crazy people. We're the best. We're so much fun. So you absolutely have to look me up if you get anywhere near.
Absolutely. And if you're any of the national conferences, definitely find me.
Oh yeah, that's my bucket list. If now that our training budget's a little bigger, I might get to go to one.
Oh
of
yeah,
those
you
now.
got almost $2,000 per head.
Yeah. Yes. Oh
You were
yeah.
telling me what your initial budget was, just so people don't think I'm making it up. How much was it for how many people?
So we had it was the 12 dispatchers, and we had $1,000 training budget for
For
all 12
everybody.
dispatchers. Yep, for everybody. So that was, some gas to go to, a local conference, and that was, maybe a $20 online webinar, but that was all we could do. So
Certainly not even coffee.
no, definitely not. The first navigator we sent people to, I called our rep up and I said, "Hey, we want to go to Navigator, but we have $1,000 training budget, so we can't even send one person, much less two." They gave us 2 free tickets to go to Navigator, so
Oh,
then we
wow.
just had to, yeah. So they were great about that, and so we learned so much and got so much out of that. We said we need a better budget. So
Fantastic.
yeah,
Kelley Anderson, ENP, one of our brand new
ENP.
emergency number professionals.
Yes.
Congratulations. Thanks for spending time with us. Enjoy Watertown Regional 911. And I will say that South Dakota is now safer with,
Yes, it
with an
is.
educated ENP running the show.
Yep, you can drive through any of my 6 counties, and not only will I be able to get you really good help, but I'm teaching my people too. So we love our jobs.
Spread the word. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Great, Kelley. I appreciate you stopping by and chatting with us.
Thanks, Mark. I'm glad to be here. I really am. This is exciting. See, we make our own fun in South Dakota. Sometimes I get to go on your podcast.
There you go. Alrighty, have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. I'm Mark Fletcher, ENP, and I'm the Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Off the Cuff is sponsored by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 solutions to the enterprise today and making every second count. Visit them on the web at 911inform.com. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at Fletch911. Check out all my blogs and podcasts at Fletch.tv. And be sure to like and subscribe below. That way you'll be immediately notified whenever a new podcast is published. Thanks so much for listening. If you're in public safety, thanks for what you do. Take care and have a great day.